Bye.
I love you.
Thank you.
Passing you into Mr. Wayne.
No, please don't.
I need you here now, Barry.
So you're saying you could travel back in time?
But Bruce, I can fix things. I can save people. I can save my mom. I can save your parents.
You could also destroy everything.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome to another movie review. I am so happy that you can join me today. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Happy to have you here. Click the subscribe button below, click like and share with other movie fans. So yesterday, June 16th, was the release date for the film The Flash. And The Flash, a superhero film, stars Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, aka The Flash, Michael Keaton as Batman, Sasha Calais as Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, and Michael Shannon plays the villain General Zod. It was directed by Andreas Muschietti, and the film clocks in at approximately 2 hours and 25 minutes. The film has a pretty straightforward, simple plot. This is an origin story of the Flash, aka Barry Allen, and in the film, Barry Allen realizes that he runs so fast that he can actually go back in time. So he decides to go back in time to save his mother's life. And when he goes back in time, there's things that he doesn't, that he didn't factor in. Number one, he didn't factor in that he could meet another version of himself. So in the film, we have two Barrys. He also doesn't anticipate that Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, would change. So in the current timeline, Ben Affleck plays Batman, and in the alternate timeline, Michael Keaton plays Batman. Another thing that he did not factor into, in the alternate timeline, he's looking for Superman. He doesn't find Superman. Instead, he finds Superman's cousin, Kara Zor-El. And later on in the film, the alternate Barry is trying his best to change events, but the more he changes events, the more things unravel and things just get out of hand. And after a while, the current Barry realizes that he cannot go back and change things, and he's better off going back to the original timeline. So I'm not going to get into details beyond that, or else I would just pretty much spoil it for you guys. But I'm going to give this movie 2.5 out of 5 stars. I was paying attention to some of the cameos that popped up in this film. People have been talking about these cameos on social media, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Whoever does not appear in the trailer, I'm not going to talk about the cameos in this movie review. I would just much rather you guys watch the film if you haven't watched the film already. But when I saw certain cameos in the film, when I left the theater, I had to go on my phone and do some background reading on this film, because there were certain cameos that just did not make sense to me at all. And one of the things that I learned from, filmmaking, whatever you see on the screen is there on purpose. And so I had to figure out why certain cameos popped up. And when I read the background story of this film, I was, whew, I was flabbergasted. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the background story, but let me tell you, the background story is a story in and of itself. You can actually do a documentary about the background to The Flash. So anyway, I got some notes, so I'm just gonna like sum it up for you guys. The Flash was in development hell since the 1980s. I'm not making this up, folks. You can do this research and read it for yourself. But I'm not going to give you the entire story. I'm just going to give you a summation of what I read when I got a movie theater and I'm on my way home, okay? All right, so at first, Warner Brothers DC Comics hired comic book writer Jeff Loeb to write the script. Fast forward to 2004, okay? 19 years ago, David Goyer was supposed to write, direct, and produce a new version of The Flash. He was inspired by Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. And in 2007, David Goyer left the project due to creative differences with the studio. Fast forward to the following year, George Miller, the same George Miller that gave us Mad Max Fury Road, one of the greatest action films of all time. He was supposed to direct a film called The Justice League Mortal with Adam Brody as the Flash. And that was supposed to be the beginning of a franchise including the Flash. So, in 2008, Justice League Mortal was canceled. And then the movie was delayed by the 2008 WGA strike. So if you are familiar with what's going on in the entertainment industry right now, in particular Hollywood, the WGA is on strike right now. They've been on strike since May 2nd. And for those of you who are not familiar, WGA stands for Writers Guild of America. So they're on strike right now. Back in 2008 was the last strike that the WGA had. And that strike lasted for about 10 weeks or so. So that strike put off The Flash. Fast forward to 2016, and Warner Brothers and DC made plans to make The Flash, this time with Ezra Miller as The Flash. Then Seth Grahame-Smith was supposed to direct, but he left the project in 2018 due to creative differences with the studio. So directors keep coming in and out of this project, and DC and Warner Brothers are considering new directors. Some of these new directors turned down the project. It was a mess. And then Ray Fisher, the same Ray Fisher who played Victor Stone and Cyborg in the Justice League movies, he was supposed to come back and revive his role. However, he got dropped out of the project because of an issue with the pay. The Warner Brothers DC Comics promised him one pay, and they ended up offering him a fraction of the pay when it was time for him to shoot his part of the movie. So it actually happens that in the movie that we got, they created some kind of reason as to why Cyborg doesn't help the Flash in terms of the issue that's going on in the alternate timeline between Flash, the Batman, and General Zod. So Ezra Miller It's been reported that Ezra Miller didn't like the various scripts and the various versions of the Flash that he read. So he decided to write a script with comic book writer Grant Morrison. However, that script got turned down by Warner Brothers and DC Comics. So what they decided to do is not use the script, but keep Ezra Miller as the lead of the film. So fast forward to November 2019, and Warner Brothers and DC Comics decides to hire Andres Muschietti to direct the film, with Christina Hodson to write the script after she wrote Birds of Prey, starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. And so voila, here we finally have The Flash in theaters after 35, 40 years, which to me is absolutely insane to have a movie sitting in development for that length of time. That is just absolutely outrageous. And the development of the film has an effect on what we saw, or what you're going to see if you haven't seen it yet. It has an effect on the film. Who's in it, who's not in it. And so that I took into consideration when it came to scoring this film. We should have had a Flash film before the Justice League. Keep in mind, the Justice League film, directed by Zack Snyder, that film is already 6 years old. Okay? We already have an Aquaman film that came out 5 years ago. We already have Wonder Woman 1 and 2. We already have Man of Steel. We already have, Batman. And, the Flash is something that we've been waiting on for way, way too long. Another issue that I have with this film is they waited so long to make this film that, we have to think about the legal issues of Ezra Miller that's been coming out in papers and in the news for the past couple of years. Burglary and grooming a minor. I mean, these are serious issues. And I just have to, point this out. And I'm not going to get into details, but I just want to point it out that, I've noticed that, people are very excited to watch The Flash. And a lot of people think that Ezra Miller did a great job playing Barry Allen. And I agree. Ezra did a very good job at playing Barry Allen. But if we can forgive Ezra Miller for the legal woes and Ezra's criminal record, we can also forgive Jonathan Majors. And what's heartbreaking for me is Jonathan Majors was dropped by his agents, and at this point it's uncertain what his if he has an acting career or not. But yeah, we really gotta reconsider releasing animated feature films in theaters like The Flashpoint Paradox, especially when the plots are much better than the plot in your live action film. So that's all for today, my friends. Yeah, this was not a pleasant movie review to do, because The Flash is probably one of the most anticipated films during the COVID pandemic era. So I've been looking forward to The Flash for the past few years. But anyway, you guys take care, and I will see you next time with another movie review. Take care and have fun at the movies.